Hi guys, Licorice here, and today I'm going in depth on Volibear.
Can they get the rest? Closer into melee range. Protobelt comes up, finds a knockup. Does he find the trade? It's not going to be all that they wanted. The turret is turned off. Here comes Volibear, and Licorice gets that one. Panzer left alone, stunned up, can't find much more. The overall kill difference remains just the one, but what a fight, what a bloodbath down the bottom lane.
There's a couple different runes you can take on Volibear, and it's kind of pretty lane dependent. Some people like to go for Grasp, but I just personally don't really like Grasp that much. I think that you get better all-in value from Conquer, and you're basically just trying to all-in over and over again. And then, so for me personally, I either take Conquer in melee matchups when I'm against someone that I can just like fight, like Aatrox or Wukong or something that I'm gonna all-in. And then in matchups that I'm not going to be able to fight them as much, where like it's like a ranged champion and I'm going to have like limited windows to fight them, then I'll take like Press the Attack, and that's going to be against like Jace or like Gangplank or just like champions like that you just can't fight all the time. But for this game, I'm playing against Renekton bot, so I'm going to take Conqueror. I think Resolve second is just the best. And basically, if you're in a ranged matchup, you take second wind, and if you're in a melee matchup, you take bone plating, and I think that's about as in-depth as it is. I like attack speed here, and then just adaptive damage and armor or MR, depending on what you're laning against in the last slot. For summoners, I think you take Flash TP or Flash Ignite. If you want to take Ignite and solo queue, I think that's totally fine. And also, Thunderlord Volibear is the coolest skin, so you can pick that one up if you want when you're playing the champ. The new Volibear is a pick that is really strong in lane phase and in early fights, but you can have pretty hard time team fighting with them later because he just doesn't offer like too much to a team. So it's pretty important that you're able to snowball your lane and like kind of win the game that way. I think you can just pick it any time just because your lane phase is really strong. As a champion, I think it'll be like the healthiest when it is like more of a counter pick champion. And I think that Riot's probably going to balance around that as well. So it'll probably end up being more of a counter pick. For starting items, I'd always recommend either Doran's Shield or Doran's Blade. Doran's Blade is just more aggressive, and Doran's Shield gives you more room to like make a couple mistakes or take bad trades. So it really depends. Doran's Blade is going to be more aggressive, but in range matchups, you're always going to want to opt for Doran's Shield, and even in matchups where like they have a fair amount of poke, like with Renekton Q, I would opt in for Doran's Shield most of the time. Generally, as far as builds go, I think Triforce is the one that I've had the most success with. So I'll just pick up like usually the Phage first and then Stinger or Sheen second. It doesn't really matter which one you get. And you can like take really small bases and start building up your Triforce. And if you're in like a really aggressive lane, you can buy like an extra Doran's Blade. Like if you're playing against like Darius and it's just like he's just gonna be fighting you to the death the whole time, then picking up extra Doran's Blade is pretty good. If you're playing against AD champions and you just want a lot of armor, you can build Frozen Heart after your Triforce, and that's like a pretty good option. Either Mercs or Tabbies are going to be your best boot option, but Frozen Heart is a pretty good option if you're trying to like chase people down, like you're against like a Jace or something like that. Righteous Glory second can be pretty good too, just to like catch up to people and get like you go like really fast when you use your Q in Righteous Glory, so that's pretty good. And then generally, like, I personally think Wit's End is a pretty good item on Volibear too if you need some MR, if you're playing against like a mage champ. Or if you just like, they have some AP and this is like kind of a third or second item. And then like after Triforce and Wit's End, I think you just go full tank. Like I think Randuin's is a good option, Visage can be a good option, GA can be a good option. Like if you're really fed, I like GA a lot. If you're not, then I think the like more normal tank items are really good, like Randuin's or Adaptive Helm or Visage. And you're just trying to be like tank up and be like a big front line in the game. In this lane against Renekton, there's basically two options for spells you can start on Volibear. Either you start E or W. Your W is against champions that are gonna fight you. So if you're playing against like a Wukong or a Darius, then you want to start W so that if they fight you, you can fight them back and you can just like all in. And Volibear wins, I think, every all in level 1 if they actually fight you like that. So just start W and fight them and you're going to win. And then in either range matchups where you can't fight them Or in matchups against like say an Ornn, where he just doesn't have any pressure level 1, you can start E and just kind of poke them out a little bit with that spell. If you start E, you're pretty strong at level 2 because then you can take Q and E and kind of all in someone with that trade. But apart from that, most of your lane phase against melee champions involves you just trying to like keep applying the W to them so you can get the empowered W, and keeping your passive up from hitting creeps. With your passive, you end up pushing a lot, so when you're against a melee champion, you can kind of just push them in. And whenever they walk up, you just trade with them. And your best trade pattern is going to be you stun them, and then you throw out your E when you're about to stun them, so that you stun them into your E, because your E is like a lot of damage. I think like level 1 it already does 110 damage to a normal champion, so it's like crazy amounts of damage. So you just want to make sure you hit that, and then they're going to be slowed after, and you just basically run them down and kill them. So you always want to max W first because that's your biggest damage spell. And then after W, you want to max Q second because if I level up and show it, it gives you a lot of movement speed for every rank you put in it. It says it goes from 20 to 25%, but that gets doubled when you're running at someone. So it really gives you like 10% move speed per rank while your Q is going to be on, which is pretty big. So you want to max that second so you're able to gap close against people who have like dashes and carries and whatnot. I guess one other thing that I do want to talk about is it's not really relevant against Renekton here, but first your ult disables towers. So the little circle shows the damage range, and then the big circle shows when it's going to disable a tower. And the other thing to know about your ult is that you're immune to CC while you're ulting, and that like if someone hits you with the stun while you're ulting, when you land you won't be stunned no matter what. So you're always going to come out free of CC. So if you can time it to like when like you're gonna get at least cocooned or hit with like a stun or something like that, JC is like a really good example, then you get like a really big advantage in a fight because you just ignore their stun. So in mid game, your general role is just to hit whatever's in front of you. It's really not it's really not a very complicated champion, and basically the same combos you did in lane phase are going to be the ones in team fights, where you're just going to queue people, try to hit them with the E while you stun them, and then just run them down. You can do that to front line, back line. Like if you're hitting tanks in your head, it's good. If you're hitting carries in your head, it's good. Like it really doesn't matter. Like flanking is good, but not necessary because you're pretty tanky, especially if you're like up levels or up items. So you just kind of run at people, and then if you can't catch them with your Q, then use your ult. That's pretty much how it works. I would say the one thing is that your E actually has like a really long range. So if you think you can't catch someone with Q, if you max range your E, it's generally going to do a good job of hitting someone who's running away. But apart from that, you just run at people and beat them up. And if they kill you faster, then that really sucks. but you're doing your job. So I mean, I think the first thing is going to be, like, it really depends on whether you're trying to win as many games as possible or whether you're trying to get better. Because if you're trying to win as many games as possible, then I would say the most important thing is to not die to jungle ganks. It's just like good wards, you ward here. If there's like a big wave crashing, you don't know where the jungler is, like make sure you don't get chunked, so you're not going to get dove on the wave. Like if there's like an enemy there, I'm not going to trade with them. I'm just going to like catch this wave under my tower. Just like use your wards when you're up. You have like a pretty good amount of wards, and try not to die, basically. Like don't always go for risky trades when you don't know where the jungler is. If you can get on carries, it's really good. If you can't, getting on frontline is fine too. You do a pretty good job at shredding frontline, so you pretty much just hit whoever you can. And try to use your ult to like block CC if you can. That's gonna, and it actually does like a lot of damage late game. Like it's like, with like this item build that has like 1 AD item after Triforce, does like 888 before resist, so it's really gonna do a lot of damage if you can hit it. Yeah, so Volibear, it's like an aggressive champion. You just always want to fight when you're playing it. Your combo is just like to run at people with Q, try to hit them with the E, and then just W them as many times as possible while autoing them with your passive. And that, you pretty much play the same way the whole game. You just go in, and that's it. Thanks for watching this episode of Going In Depth, presented by AT&T. Let us know in the comments which champion you want to see next.